Can't believe I'm making a Five Nights at Freddy's video. Yay.
DeadHatz.
So, not too long ago, I had the pleasure of viewing the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and while I enjoyed it a lot, and it definitely had a lot of bits for the fans and those of us that are actually following the series, I will say it definitely left some parts of me slightly upset with the franchise and some of the decisions they decided to go through with when making the movie. And this is a slight small trend I've seen in another horror franchise that I love myself. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and hopefully it's not a trend and just two examples that just happen to happen relatively close to each other. The first Five Nights at Freddy's game was a smash hit indie success that doesn't really need an introduction, so I'm not going to bother explaining it too much. You know, it became popular because of its uncanny characters, its excellent atmosphere, its puzzle-like story was able to draw a lot of theory crafting towards it, and of course the many Let's Players that were playing the game at the time. I even replayed the game for the sake of this video and only really got to night 4, but one thing I found super enjoyable and scary was its use of noise and ambience. These can really make the player feel isolated as they feel alone against such an imposing force in the game. I'm not really going to call the animatronics scary as they're really too well known at this point to be creepy on their own. However, the threat of a jump scare is what really causes the anxiety. Now, I know a lot of people may see the jump scares as a cheap tactic, but I think its utilization as a way to end your game and force you to start over is really the main scary part of it. Thus, I would actually argue the game uses it very well this time rather than lazily. But back to the main focus, the original game is what location was featured in the movie, and the movie for the most part is related to this first game. However, when viewing the movie itself, I felt it lacked a lot of what made the game popular in the first place. In fact, the only thing the movie really had in common was the settings and characters. And yes, before you comment it, I am aware the movie is based off the book, but it felt like such a shame to see all these excellent themes from the, very thing that started it all, missing from the movie. The ambience, the isolation, it almost felt absent from the movie, and that was quite disappointing for me, especially after going back and playing the game myself and being able to experience that fear. It almost just felt as if a lot of fear was dropped from the movie and replaced with a bit of, well, without lack of a better word, cheesiness. The movie was a little cheesy. And I know it's made for kids, but let's get into that and analyze why a movie would go down this route. Now, I wanted to kind of analyze why would the movie kind of go down this route? What was the decision making that would have led up to such a drastic change to occur from what it was to what it ended up being in the movie? I even saw the movie again with some people who actually knew nothing about the series, and they themselves said it was cheesy. So why would they, decide to go down this route instead of one they already knew kind of worked? But why would the movie want to stray away so far from its original? Even with Scott overseeing the creation, he would have made the decision to have the movie this way intentionally. I would say the main driving force behind that is reach. I know it seems pretty obvious, but the movie dropped all its original themes of isolation and desperation in favor of reaching a wider audience, and so that the audience already knew it, especially the younger demographic, could actually watch it. As, well, a lot of fans of the movie are younger, and they wouldn't be able to get to see a rated R movie. And I think a secondary reason is, just to please those fans. Which, I think is fine, honestly. I don't think a movie being made for the majority of people who support it is a bad thing at all. But the reason being this reach is the decision behind, the decision-making process of why they dropped a lot of the scariness from it. By streamlining the story and making it so a wider audience could enjoy it as an understandable decision made by the production. It does make sense why they would do this. So I think it is quite saddening that a lot of what made the original game good is absent from the movie. It's at least understandable as to why this decision was made. However, the same could not be said about this next topic. Silent Hill is a game that's beloved by many as one of the best horror video games of all time. From the master of its horrifying atmosphere, or the characters and different plot points that they go through, the game almost plays as a sort of novel, as it has some of the best game writing I've seen in any game ever. Anyone who's played the first 3 Silent Hill games will know what I mean when I say this series is very beloved by many, and I mean many people. As, it's recognized as one of the greats, but as far as the content of the game, it's been lacking late. We haven't gotten a mainline Silent Hill game since 2012, if you don't include PT. And, well, needless to say, the fans of the series have been starving. All this was supposed to change with the release of Silent Hill Ascension. The game was supposed to be the revival of the series, the trailer was promising, and it gave fans something to look forward to, especially after years of waiting for a mainline entry. The fans were so starved for content that even if the game wasn't perfect, they were willing to still get it, as it would be the first Silent Hill in almost a decade. It was set to be an interactive series, with the audience being able to affect the story. Not the exact thing everyone wanted, but still something that could work if done right. In anticipation, people awaited for its release until, well, finally, it's a stinking pile of shit. Yep. Instead of bringing fans something they've been waiting for, we get this mobile game, and, it's fine, but not only is it a mobile game, it's chock full of microtransactions and a battle pass. Yes, a Silent Hill game everyone has been waiting for, with the returning features and never before seen stuff. You can do stuff like microtransactions, a battle pass, microtransactions, a voting system where players decide the actions of characters, which is kind of cool, except the microtransactions, a chat where players can, interact, microtransactions. In case you couldn't already tell, absolutely none of these are wanted or needed or necessary in a Silent Hill game. Konami's love of money, though, clearly outweighs their care for their own franchise. Konami, the same company that will make games pachinko machines instead of making games. Konami is willing to kill everything their franchise is or was if it means making a quick buck. I mean, look at the Metal Gear Solid series and how they massacred that. This kind of just put a sour taste in my mouth. It makes me concerned for the other 2 Silent Hill projects announced, such as the Silent Hill 2 remake and Silent Hill F. The trailers for these 2 games looked really good, but if this is what they're shoveling out, then I'm almost scared to see what's to come. And, we still don't know too much about the projects, these games shown. If Silent Hill Ascension is a sign of anything to come, I can say with confidence it makes me scared for the future of this franchise. While FNAF may have lost some of their horror aspects for the sake of reaching a wider audience, and a lot of people criticized it for that, I think that's nowhere near as bad as losing the horror for greed. But hopefully this is just a fluke and not a sign of what's to come. Do you think this is starting to become a trend, or just 2 things that happen, in close proximity to one another? Am I perhaps overreacting or seeing something that isn't there? Let me know in the comments, and, as usual, I'll make sure to read over and discuss it with y'all. I personally hope a lot of franchises don't go down this route, but if they do, I would hope for it's for something a lot more respectable like Reach, or trying different avenues in storytelling rather than greed like we saw with Konami. Also, sorry for not uploading it a bit, like for all of November. I was on vacation, and, I feel a lot more rejuvenated now, so I should be back, and back to making video. I'll make sure to get y'all a little bit more before the year ends. Besides, I still have my yearly gaming video to upload, so thank you all, and I'll see you around. DeadHatz out.
Subscribe to DeadHatz or you'll die tomorrow.